two great empires, Rome and Carthage, locked in an epic battle for supremacy over the Mediterranean. The stakes were high, the warriors ruthless, and the world would never be the same again. This is the story of the Punic Wars, where empires rose and fell, and the fate of nations hung in the balance. In 264 BC, the world witnessed the beginning of the First Punic War, a brutal clash between Rome and Carthage, two powers vying for control of the Mediterranean. It all began over one small island, Sicily. At first it seemed like a minor dispute, but soon it spiraled into a massive conflict, one that would shape the future of both empires. Rome, at the time, was a rising power, fiercely ambitious but inexperienced in naval warfare. Carthage, on the other hand, was a mighty maritime empire with a well-established fleet and immense wealth. The Romans had little to no navy of their own, but their determination and resourcefulness would soon change that. In a shocking move, the Romans built a fleet of warships and set sail to challenge the Carthaginian navy. The first major naval battle took place, and against all odds, the Romans emerged victorious. It was a massive blow to Carthage and a sign of things to come. As the war raged on, both sides suffered staggering losses. The conflict turned into a grueling war of attrition. But in 241 BC, Rome made a move that would change everything. They launched a surprise attack, catching Carthage off guard, and dealt a decisive blow in a final epic naval battle. Carthage, battered and broken, had no choice but to negotiate for peace. The terms were harsh. Carthage had to surrender Sicily to Rome and pay a heavy tribute. It was a blow to Carthage's pride, but Rome's victory marked the beginning of their dominance in the Mediterranean. However, the war wasn't quite over for Carthage. A few years after the war ended, the seeds for a new conflict were sown. This time, within Carthage itself. The mercenaries who had fought for Carthage during the Punic War were left unpaid, and discontent quickly spread among their ranks. What started as a small rebellion soon turned into a full-scale revolt, known as the Mercenary War. The mercenaries, led by two powerful figures, Mathos from Libya and Spendius from Campania, marched on Carthage itself. The city was now threatened from within. The Carthaginian government, in a desperate move, called upon their greatest general, Hamilcar Barca, to quell the rebellion. Hamilcar was not only a brilliant tactician, but a seasoned leader who had fought in the First Punic War. Now, with his homeland in danger, he would need all his skills to deal with the chaos. But this time, the battle would not be fought on the seas. It would take place on land. Hamilcar's task was monumental. The mercenaries had gathered a massive army, and they were camped in Tunis, just south of Carthage, threatening the heart of the empire. But Hamilcar had something the rebels didn't. He had strategy. Instead of confronting the rebels head-on, Hamilcar used guerrilla tactics, striking when the enemy least expected it. His force of elephants, cavalry, and disciplined infantry harassed the rebels at every turn, causing confusion and disarray. Slowly, Hamilcar's tactics wore down the mercenary forces. Eventually, Hamilcar managed to trap the rebels in Tunis. The mercenaries, desperate and starving, were forced into a battle for survival. But the tide had turned. Hamilcar's forces crushed the rebels, and the revolt came to an end. The mercenaries who had once posed a great threat were now defeated. While Carthage had been victorious, the cost was immense. The Mercenary War had drained their resources, and their once powerful economy was now teetering on the brink of collapse. And as if that wasn't enough, Rome saw an opportunity to further weaken Carthage. In 238 BC, the Romans seized the island of Sardinia, and Carthage had no choice but to submit. Rome demanded a large tribute, another blow to Carthage's already fragile state. It was clear that Carthage was struggling, but its greatest general, Hamilcar Barca, wasn't done yet. Hamilcar knew the only way to secure Carthage's future was to gain wealth. and the riches of the Iberian Peninsula would provide the key. So in 238 BC, he set off for Spain, where he hoped to build a new power base for Carthage and prepare for the inevitable future clash with Rome. But before he left, Hamilcar made his son, Hannibal, swear an oath that would shape the fate of both Rome and Carthage. Hamilcar made his son promise that he would never make peace with Rome. Hannibal's loyalty to this oath would lead to the greatest conflict the world had ever seen, the Second Punic War. And so, with a vow of hatred for Rome, Hannibal set the stage for a war that would bring Rome to its knees. The seeds of the Second Punic War were planted, and with it, the rise of a general who would change history forever. This was only the beginning. Stay tuned for more of this epic tale, and don't forget to subscribe to Legends Beyond Border to continue exploring the legendary battles that shaped the world. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next chapter of history's greatest conflicts.